Section 3.1, Graphing Linear Equations. Our essential question today is how do you identify the x and y-intercepts of a linear equation? So the x and y-intercepts of a linear equation. We have three new vocab words. The first one is called standard form. Standard form is a very specific form for linear equations. This form looks like this: ax plus by equals c. And very specifically, a, b, and c are integers so that means no fractions or decimals. Integers. So integers are like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, ... integers. And a must be positive. Okay, so it's a very specific order where it's ax plus by, then the equal sign, and then the c. So after your equal sign, like on the right-hand side, all you can have is c. So there are no variables on the right-hand side at all. No variables. The variables x and y have to be on the left. X has to be first, so the first term has to have the x plus, or it could be a minus if b is negative, the term with y, and then the equal sign, and then the c. It's very picky. Specific form. Okay, then the x and y-intercepts. The x-intercept would be where your graph crosses the x-axis. Because the word intercept is very similar to intersect. So where your graph crosses the x-axis, that's your x-intercept. And then, of course, the y-intercept is going to be where your graph crosses the y-axis. Okay. So three new vocab words: standard form, a very specific form for linear equations. It's a very specific order, and there are specific rules about the kind of numbers that can replace a, b, and c. They all have to be integers, and then the first one, a, has to be positive. It can't be negative. X-intercept, where your graph crosses through the x-axis, and y-intercept, where your graph crosses through the y-axis. Okay, what are the rules for writing an equation in standard form? So, here you go again. I pretty much wrote these on the last page, but as you can see, I kind of emphasized. So a must be a whole number, so it's an integer, but it can't be negative. And then b and c are integers, positive or negative. No fractions are allowed for any of them. Now, are any of these equations written in standard form? So, I'm going to put my standard form up here again. Okay, so are any of these written in standard form? The first one, no. A cannot be negative. So a cannot be negative 15. The second one, 3x looks good, but then minus 2 equals 5y? No. The 2 and 5y are on the wrong sides. So remember, the only thing that can be on the right-hand side is the plain number for C, right here. You cannot have a variable on the right-hand side. The next one, yes, that looks great. A, B, A, and C look good. A is positive. All right. Next one, no. They are all on the wrong side. Okay. The next one, no. A cannot be a fraction. And then the last one, yes, that one looks good. So hopefully you're getting the hang of it. No fractions, no negatives for A, no fractions for any of them, no negatives for A, and then the specific order has to be X then Y equals plain number. Okay, how do you find the X and Y intercepts from this graph? And then using the labels, what do the intercepts mean in this graph? So this graph is talking about orthodontic payments. I'm looking at the title first. And then if I look at the axis labels, we have remaining balance for Y and number of $85 payments for X. Okay, so first let's find the intercepts. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So here's my x-axis. My graph crosses right here at 60. So my x-intercept is 60. Or if you wanted to write it as an ordered pair, that would be 60, 0. Then my y-intercept. Here's my y-axis. So my y-intercept is right here where my graph crosses the y-axis. So my y-intercept is 5,000 or 0, 5,000 as an ordered pair. Using the labels, what do the intercepts mean? Well, if I look at the label on the x-axis, the number of $85 payments, and it's at 60, so I would say orthodontic payments. So for the x-intercept, I would say we need to make 60 payments of $85 to pay for braces. Okay, then the $5,000, I'm going to say, for my y-intercept, our braces cost $5,000 total. Because we're starting out at $5,000 and then eventually paying off the braces. So this is how much you owe at the beginning. And then it goes down as you make your payments to the bottom where they're paid off. So they're paid off after 60 payments of $85. Okay, our next graph, same thing as the last one. So let's look at the title, Draining a Pool, because everybody that's got a pool should be doing a little bit of draining about now because we're hitting the end of the season here. Well, hopefully we hit the end of the season. Let's see. So my x-axis, 14 is my x-intercept, where the graph crosses the x-axis. So 14, or as an ordered pair, 14, 0. My y-axis, 10,000. So y-intercept, 10,000, or 0, 10,000. Now what do those mean? We've got time in hours, in volume in gallons, and we're draining a pool. So if I look at this x-intercept of 14, I'm going to say it will take 14 hours to drain the pool. Okay? And if I look at my y-intercept, 10,000 gallons, I'm going to say there were 10,000 gallons of water. There was. Change my word. So there was 10,000 gallons of water in the pool before draining. There we go. So it's important to look at the title and the access labels to make sure you're understanding your situation. All right, now from a table, you may have noticed that when we wrote our X and Y-intercepts as ordered pairs, the X-intercept always had a Y value of 0. So if I look for a Y value of 0 over here, I find it right at the top of the table. So -8, 0, or -8. That would be my X-intercept. Then the Y-intercept, switch my color here for you, actually had an X value of 0. So if I look for an X value of 0, I get 0, 6, or just 6. So look for the zeros in the table. Same thing on the next one. So my first ordered pair has an X value of 0. So that means I found my Y-intercept. So 0, 248, or just 248. And then when the Y value is 0, I found my X-intercept, so it's opposite, so 4, 0, or 4. Now this table has time and distance. So what do the intercepts mean in this table? Well, I guess it means that at the start, your distance, at time 0, your distance is 248. So it must mean that you're planning on driving or you're planning on going. Okay, so I'm going to say you're planning on going 248 miles. So that's the plan at the beginning. And then at the end it took 4 hours. So then I'm going to say it took 4 hours to go the 248 miles. There we go. How do you find the X and Y intercepts from standard form? Use them to graph the line. Well, from standard form, if we plug in our zeros, so to find the X-intercept, we plug in 0 for Y, and to find the Y-intercept, we plug in 0 for X. So in my table over here, that's what we're going to do. If I put the 0 where X is and solve, 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 5y is 5y. So I could divide by 5, and y equals 2. So 0, 2 is my y-intercept. Then I can plug in, I'm going to shrink this a little bit and move it over. Then I can plug in 0 for y instead, and I can solve it. 5 times 0 is 0. 2x plus 0 is 2x. Divide by 2, and I get my x-intercept of 5. So x is 5, and y is 0. And then I can draw my line. So as long as I know my two intercepts, I can draw my line through them. So that's the process of finding the x and y intercepts from standard form and then using them to graph the equation. Another example just like that last one. so again, I'm just going to plug in 0. 0 for x. Looks like this. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus y equals 6. I'm going to put a 1 in front of that y. So 0 minus 1y would be negative 1y. That equals 6. I divide by the negative 1, so y equals negative 6. So my y-intercept on the y-axis, negative 6 would be down 6 like this. There's my y-intercept. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Cut that. Move it over. Okay, so now I can put in my 0 for y instead. 3x minus 0 is 3x. 3x equals 6. Divide by 3. X equals 2. So on the x-axis, 2 would be right here, 2, 0, and then draw the line. Don't forget to draw the line through those intercepts. Remember that each intercept represents its own point. So don't solve for the 2 intercepts and write them as an ordered pair like this, 2, negative 6. That is not correct. Each one of them is its own intercept. Okay, should be able to write a summary. And then we have a worksheet for your homework today.